Hi folks, Dave with DBSTECHTALK. Today we're going to talk about the TRN IM2. These were recommended by a subscriber, Joe. Thank you very much for recommending. And I must say, $25 on Amazon, not bad. You can get them cheaper on AliExpress if you want to purchase them from there. And I think they're like $13 or $15 on AliExpress. But the TRN IM2. They come in a nice little box. Your in-ears would be in here, but I've taken them out because I've been using them. Very simple unboxing. You get a little bag that have your cable in it, and then you get some tips, and you get some warranty paperwork, and that's it. So very easy to unbox very quickly, and it's not a bad little unboxing for $25. The silicone tips are, if you want to see them, basically like that. A little bit on the mushy side with a stiff stem support, and I found that it put a little bit too much pressure on my ears. I didn't care for it, and they didn't insert far enough, so I changed the foams. So all sound impressions are done using the foam tip. The in-ears themselves. A little bit on the clunky side. Extremely light. This is a dual driver setup, so you have one balanced and one dynamic. You can see that right there. And as you can see, they do have somewhat of a thick port and bore. They also have an interesting little like wing system there, like most in-ears do, but that one has a interesting way of sitting in your ear, and it lifts up a little bit, which I didn't care for, but I only really felt it when I used silicone tips. When I put the foams on, I didn't feel it as much, not as much pressure. Plus the foam's inserted farther, so I think that might have made a difference. They are a 2-pin connector, as you can see right there. Very hard on the camera. There's your 2-pin. There is very minimalistic writing on the cable. It actually says L and R, but there's no writing on the in-ear itself, which I find interesting. So you have to match it up. You have to go, okay, that's my left, and then look at your cable and go, okay, that's left, and then you connect your cable. Speaking of the cable, comes with preforms. They're fairly decent. I've had stiffer and I've also had looser. These are just about right as far as amount of tension. Goes into a very thin wire which twists up a lot. Wish that didn't twist as bad. And it doesn't have a slider tensioner. Just goes right to a plastic split. And then your cable, which is decent, fairly straight. It does have a few kinks here and there, but for the most part, it's not bad for $25. Goes in, has a nice strain relief, and then it has a slight branding on your plastic, and then 3.5. Overall, cable's not bad for 25 bucks. It's not great, and it's not bad. It's better than the Edition XX stock cable. Anyways, yeah. Build wise, they are a little bit on the clunky side. So this is right. Let's put these back together here. They fit in your ear fairly well. They don't feel like they're going to fall out. They don't put a whole lot of weight in. They're not anything of that sort. Where I had issues was right here on the top part where that little wing is, and it kind of just put pressure on my ear just a little bit. They seal fairly decently. I would say they block probably 60% of outside noise. They're not perfectly great at sealing out noise, but they're not terrible. And they'll be adequate for going around town, sitting in an office, things like that. You can still hear people talking to you. It's just muffled. But they're not going to block out really loud noises like jet engines and trains very well until you turn your music on. Man, I need a haircut. Wow. Anyways, overall build quality, comfort, decent. Better than the V10s were. I will say that. How do they sound? Now, when I think of $25 in-ears or cheaper, usually it's really bassy or they're extremely trebly and sharp. And this is neither. Very impressive. They have a slightly warmer tone to them, and they have a fun bass factor, which I'm not a bass head, but these make me want to be one. The bass is actually very well detailed, has good clarity in it, and it also has a fun impact and very just a way of just making you feel it. And I really do like these bass wise. Now, they're not the most bassy in-ears ever, anything of that sort, but they do well on bass music, at least according to my ears. They, especially when you have foam tips on, if you have the silicones on, they lack just a little bit of impact. Put the foams on and you really can get that seal and you can get that thumpiness about it. They do bleed into the mids a little bit, so it adds a warmer texture and a warmer tone to the mids, and it gives them a little bit of life. Gives them a little bit of fullness to the mids. The mids aren't the focal point of these headphones, but they are pleasant, and they're where they should be. You're not going to walk away desiring more from the mids or less from the mids. They're just kind of there, which is good. They do sound natural and smooth, but they do what they need to do. And then the treble, is a little bit troublesome. It has its moments of being really smooth and very detailed and clear and just sounding awesome, and then it has those moments of yikes. That's a little bit on the sharp side. That's getting borderline sibilant, and it's not very textured, and it has graininess in it. So the treble can be hit or miss with these. And even though those songs are kind of limited to what you're playing, if you're playing songs with lots of treble, these will struggle. If you're playing songs that have a more laid back, mellow song, the treble sounds awesome. And if you're just playing normal old music, I guess you could say, they're fine. It's just when you get those songs that are a little treble busy, or have a lot of cymbal work, or have a super high squeaky type of voice, like a opera singer or something along those lines, they'll get a little bit of ouch, and you have to turn the volume down or change songs. But those are few and far between. For the most part, the trebles is okay. What they do, what the, sorry, kid mind. What they do well is detail and clarity. It's crazy how much detail you can get out of these little $25 headphones, earphones. I was very much impressed with it. You hear things that a lot of times you don't hear on a $25 in-ear, or it's being forced in your ears so much at an aggressive rate, and these don't do that. The Soundstage and Imaging is okay. Soundstage isn't anything spectacular, and Imaging I wouldn't say is that great either. You know that it's coming from the right or the left or the center, but you don't really get any lots of depth or height in it. You can just hear things traveling across, and you can get some nice detail, but it's not like, okay, that's right here, exactly right there. It's more like it's over in this neighborhood type of deal. But for $25, other than the little inconsistencies in the treble and the warmer tint of the bass and the mids, these are excellent. In fact, actually, I like that warmer tint. Gives it a little more fun factor, a little musical, enjoyable. So for $25, I can't complain. These are excellent for just those moments of I need some tunes and I don't want to take out my expensive in-ears. And if they break, they break. They're $25 or less, depending on where you get them from. Or I don't want to spend over $25 because I'm on a budget. These are perfect if you like a warmer sound and good clarity and detail. They pair it up well with all the different dongles that I have. Coming from my OnePlus 6T, worked great with the USB-C dongle that is included, but it did show off a little bit too much treble. The Razer USB DAC amp sounded excellent, and it controlled the treble better. Excuse me. And then the Advanced Sound Access Port Lite actually worked the best, and it controlled the treble the better, but it gave you a little bit wider soundstage and a little more dynamics and a little bit better clarity in the details. It gave you nice impact in the mids and in the bass. But overall, all three dongles worked very well. Sounded great also coming from my Pioneer XDP30R. Had plenty of power, only about 50%, and you were like, too loud, too loud. And then also, if you happen to have a IFI XDSD, works great with that also, but it's a little overkill for $25 in-ear. Overall, I recommend them. For a budget for $25, fun bass, warmer mids, and treble that has a good clarity and detail and some excitement in it without being too boring or laid back or being too shouty. Every now and then you just have your moments. The TRN IM2s. Recommend. Thank you, Joe, for recommending these. I greatly appreciate it. This has been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.